Condo market we're dealing with right now is an absolute disaster. People are losing money hand over fist. Sellers can't get rid of them if they wanted to. You don't want to rent them out because the rental prices have gone down and it's costing you more money out of pocket than you would have even imagined. And buyers are looking at condos right now and they're saying, do I really want to actually live in a shoebox? So the condo market is really struggling. There's no surprise here. It's in every news article that you see out there. We've got a couple here, the condo conundrum at Dated. You've got a McLean's article about people losing money right now in this market, and it is just everywhere. There's nowhere you can look if you're looking at housing and the condo market is doing good. Unless somebody is just spitting some complete garbage at you, it's not looking good for the condo market. Now, how did we get here? The condo market was doing great. Interest rates were low, people were buying pre-construction, flipping contracts on assignment sales, and then everything came to a halt. We obviously had interest rates shoot up when we were told they weren't going to move, and then we find ourselves in an interesting position where there's no more foreign buyers, there's no more assignment sales happening, just trading contracts for thousands of dollars without even moving into a unit. All of that came to an extreme halt. But we still cracked ground on tons of construction sites. Developers were already committed to continuing to build these projects, and we have seen more construction happen over the last few years. So there's a lot of inventory that's been built up. There's not a lot of inventory that's been moving, and to pile on top of that, we've seen developers cancel projects month over month, more cancellations than we have seen in the history of new builds, and we've had the slowest quarter ever for new build sales. So there is just a piling up of issues with condos in the GTA, in Vancouver, across Canada. It's not just a Ontario thing we're dealing with. This is a Canada widespread issue, and it's an affordability issue. But it's not just that. It's a being realistic issue. A lot of the people who are able to maybe get into the market right now are looking at these condos, especially the new build ones that are sub 400 square feet. The layouts are complete garbage. They're just a hallway and a box at the back of it. And they're saying, why would I buy this? Why would I spend my hard-earned money and buy this condo? Especially when we're paying 60, 70% of the money that we take in every single paycheck on our housing. The numbers used to be 33% of your income should be put down on housing. But that's no longer the case. People are spending more than ever on their housing, and they're actually making smarter decisions now than they ever have, looking at these condos and saying, I'm going to pass. And because of that, when we look at the data on the back end, we're seeing some things that are interesting, to say the least, very concerning. And I'm going to pull up some of those stats for you guys here. So what we're looking at here is property types and the amount of inventory that's sitting around. So we're going to open up the condo section here, and we are going to really hone in. We're going to look at Toronto because that is where the bulk of the condos are. And I want to show you guys what's actually been happening on the back end here. So you can see, as we're looking at this chart, we'll do 2025 only, right? So listings that are still active are disappearing, obviously. The longer they're on the market, the quicker they're going to sell. But something that's really starting to build up here, look at this. There's still listings from April, almost 4%. May, 8.3% of the listings are still out there. June, 18%. And now we're getting to a point here where 42% of July's listings are still on the market. So they could have been listed in the beginning of July or end of July, but they're all north of 30 days. Now, as you look at these stats, you can see very, very few of them are actually selling in the first week. In the second week, 4%. In the third week, 8%. In the second month, 3%. So the inventory we've got, not only is it building up, May, June, July inventory still there, condos still coming on the market, but we're seeing them just exponentially sit around. So I'm very curious when we get the August data, what that's going to look like, because as of right now, 42% of condos are still there, still active from July. But let's break this down a little bit further to get us some more data on, is it all condos? Is it one bedrooms? Is it two bedrooms? What's really the culprit here at the end of the day? And let's take a take a look. We'll do one bedrooms. 41% of one bedrooms from July are still on, 15% from June still on the market, and then similar data. 42% of them have just been removed from the market altogether. And as you're going to go down this chart here, the longer they've been on the market, the higher the likelihood that they're actually going to be taken off the market. Seller gets frustrated, maybe they do a price reduction, whatever the case may be, and then they get bumped up into one of these other inventory categories. Now, just taking a peek here, we're going to go backwards. We're going to go to the no bedroom, or as we call them, the please don't buy units, but the bachelors is what they really are. And let's see how many of these are still out there. Look at that. You still have 4% of April's, 10% of May's, 28% of June's, 42% of July's that are still out there. And look at that, 1% of them are selling in the second week. None are selling in the first week, fourth week. So it doesn't even matter how you price these things. They're not moving early on. There's no way that people are just going to be interested in these. And second month, 1%. Wow. So obviously they're not desirable. Builders keep building them though. And this is what's happening in this case. You're just stuck. You're stuck with inventory sitting on the market that is just essentially a ghost condo. 2 bedrooms. We got to take a peek here if they're faring any better. They're very similar to 1 bedroom. So 41% still there, 39% of them being removed from the market. But you know, June and May, still some inventory that's there, 8.2 and 18%. And they have better numbers in terms of selling in the first few weeks or the first month here. But it's concerning. So this is really a big issue that we're seeing here. This is in Toronto. I'm going to take a look at Mississauga as well, because the Mississauga region does have a ton of condos. So I want to see if it's as dire when we're looking at those numbers. And we will just do Mississauga here so you guys can get a sense of all of Mississauga and what those numbers are looking like. And if we're looking at all of Mississauga, 42% of July's listings are still there. 21 from June, 10% almost from May. Let's do the same thing. Let's check out those bachelor units. Jesus, wow. So 50% of the bachelors are still there from July, 40% from June. I'm hoping the 1 bedroom situation looks slightly better. So 33, 20, 14. So still very, very high numbers. And 2 bedrooms, I'm assuming it's just going to follow suit here. Absolutely. So the condo crisis we're in right now is across the board not good, but it is better in the 2 bedroom category than it is in the 1. And then obviously the bachelor category is just a complete disaster. It's a wash. There's going to be units that never get purchased in some of these unless the prices just end up at a point where people are going to throw a dart and hopefully get lucky. How did we get here? We got here obviously when prices were low, interest rates were low, and then investors, they were still here. They're gone. They're not in the market anymore. Rates are higher. And now all those investors who were trading contracts, making money, buying up floors of inventory, they're gone. They want to get out, but they can't. And they bought a lot of the cheap stuff. They bought whatever they can get their hands on, the 1 bedrooms and the bachelors. They didn't buy parking spots to make these even less desirable when we're looking at them today on MLS. And I've got a buyer. I don't want the unit with no parking. The value is in the additions that come with the unit. If you're buying a bachelor, if you got a parking and a locker, maybe you can get it sold. If you don't have parking, you don't have a locker, but you also don't have, you know, that transit that you hope right at your doorstep, you're going to put yourself in just a real crappy situation. So I wanted to show you guys these numbers and kind of break down what I'm seeing in the market right now. Obviously, there's articles out here that are just making things even more dire. You've got spring of 2022, Mr. Tajden purchased a pre-construction. His agent was a pre-construction expert and told him, don't worry, you won't have to close. We're just going to sell your assignment paperwork, make some quick cash, and you know how this story goes. This is not going to work out for this gentleman. Scheduled for completion in 2024. Guess what? Price is less than what he bought it for. He's not going to be able to find somebody to assign it because nobody wants to buy an assignment condo when you can get a resale at a much better price right now. And this is just something that we are seeing over and over and over again. And just to kind of put a bow and wrap this whole thing up here, the GTA quarterly new condo sales. Now, this is the pre-construction side. Just look at the chart. Just take a peek. It's ugly. We were doing so good, and now we're not doing so hot here. Just look at how low we are on this chart. This is a 20-year low. We've seen this chart in some of the other videos that we've put out here. 20-year low on sales that are condo specific in the GTHA, so that extends over to Halton and Hamilton as well as the rest of the GTA. But right now is not the time to buy a condo unless you're buying it for long-term use and you're going to be living there and it's going to be suitable for you for a 5 to 10 plus year window. If you are buying a one-bedroom condo or a bachelor condo, I'd have a very difficult time right now figuring out why you would want to do that. But you may have a reason and it might make sense. Maybe the finances will line up. But more often than not, buying a condo in this market is not the best idea unless you're buying something that has great resale value. Make sure if you are going to pull the trigger on something, it's got to have that resale value. Otherwise, it's going to be something that you're probably not going to be thinking was the best purchase for you when you're looking back in a few years from now or even further out. It's just, we're not going to hit the numbers that we were at in terms of the sale prices and the property values for quite some time, if ever. So protect yourself, use your mind, look at the numbers, make smart decisions. And if you want to figure out how to navigate the buyer market, you can always watch this. It's First Time Home Buyer Guide. I'll probably tell you not to buy a condo there as well, but at least I'll give you all the steps to getting to the finish line. And when I say don't buy a condo, I really do mean the ones that make no sense. The bachelor, the one bedroom, and the ones that don't have any intrinsic value, like that balcony and the quirky layouts. You don't want to get yourself into those if you're getting in the condo market. But if you're looking for a 2-bedroom, there's some really good deals out there. Just be cautious about what you're buying. Thanks so much for watching this one. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.